just start with just how important that first quarter was to jump out to an early advantage, because the rest of the way after that it was pretty even. Just kind of curious what you saw in that first quarter.
Well, we just tried to put a lot of emphasis on our defense, and this team was one of the more athletic teams that we've faced so far. They were different in I thought their two kids were pretty key, Nichols and Evans, and they still got all the bunches of the points, but I think that we made it really hard. We made it hard for them to do what they wanted to do, and I think that was the key that first quarter, is that we really just came out and we really focused on the defense, and then we were a little more free-flowing in our offense, and then it wasn't a pretty game, right? But both teams, I think, were keying on the other people's strengths. They made it really hard for Abby and Hannah. They really kind of conglomerated in there. They kind of really physicaled us up on our cuts. And so it's kind of hard to kind of get that free movement. We weren't running our offense that smoothly either. We were what I call hugging. We were too tight. We needed to be spread. Those are things that I wish looked a little bit better. But the positive is that this team never got down. I thought we lost our composure a little bit at the beginning of that fourth quarter. I think we didn't have a call that went our way. We kind of forced a drive, and then we fouled, and then you could kind of sense it. I think I might have called a timeout, and I just kind of told them, guys, don't give it away. Just kind of be true to who we were. You got to find a different way to win, And I thought they held. We've got some young kids played a lot more minutes tonight that they hadn't played. So, I'm just going to take wins any way we get it. And we shot the three ball a little better tonight. That was positive. We just didn't get the ball reversed as easily and smoothly. And I think we forced some ill-advised decisions. But at the end of the day, you get a win and against another Power 4 team in this type of environment. And it was a home court, and please, can I thank the fans? I think what the Pentagon folks do is great. I'd love to thank them as well. What a great concept. It's a cool environment. But then when you have Hawkeye fans like we do, it just isn't like this everywhere. I was talking to a coach down there, high school coach, and it's special. And I just can't thank the fans, and I think they helped us get amped up.
You talked, I think it was this summer, about having an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, like with Raina and Sean maybe on defense. How has that worked out? And have you seen that, I guess, manifest itself into what's happened thus far?
Well, I think it's just kind of nice we have our emphasis. It's a smaller team. Like, I'm certainly have my hands in all of it. And, Abby, and she's emphasizing offense, and Raina. But everybody, it's like, is the offense, you have to kind of read the defense to know what you want to run offensively. And then defensively, they kind of have to understand, what the other team's doing. But what I like is that when they kind of know, right, like Sean is a real fun guy. And when we're keeping the stats, like he's on it. And I think when you're trying to emphasize something and you make it consistently emphasized, which we do in practice and we do in games, the kids have kind of caught on, right? So then you're hearing them yell out our goals that we want to do. If you listen to the bench, they're talking about defensive or different defensive concepts. And then, after the game, if you get it, Sean's really fun, But Raina and Key, they do a really good job. So I think more so than just the saying and the doing, which we all do together, is they're kind of zoning in and really taking ownership of that. Yeah. And the offense, they are too. But everybody seems to, typically the sport of basketball, we kind of get more excited about offense, and especially when we're 6-on-6ers, right? That I think is just a point of emphasis that so far it's been holding, and I think that's what we needed to do, to be a little better at that, to try to hold serve again with what the offensive firepower that we lost. But I do think we can be better than what we're showing offensively, and that's exciting, and knowing that we played pretty well and won these games. So we got to keep figuring out how to make that a little smoother, but there's moments though, aren't there? Some of those pretty, I think a couple freshmen had a nice look, a backdoor pass, so I'd like to think we're coming.
Coach, what was your emphasis to Taylor in the offseason? It seems like, I know she was averaging a little over half a rebound a game prior to this year. I know she's playing more minutes, but obviously her production, her efficiency is much better, especially on the glass. Was that part of your challenge to her in the offseason?
Yeah, it really was. I go, you just need to play bigger. You got to play bigger. I said, I don't care where your size is. I said, but I want you to go in and you act like you're just bigger and be just more aggressive in your mindset. Because I love that kid, and her offensive firepower is tremendous. I said, but your firepower offensively has to match your defensive presence. I don't really care that you're little. You got to go in there and you got to sell it. You be aggressive. I think sometimes shooters, when she's been this is my philosophy. I didn't talk it with her as much. I just said, I want you to play bigger because I believe in you so much, but you got to let everybody know that you're just not a shooter, right? And I think sometimes when you're young and you become a shooter, it's like everybody, she's a shooter, and they kind of disrespect the other part of your game, or she's slight, she's this, and I said, forget all that. Go in and make another impact. And in our system, if you're correct positionally, if you can help just stop because you're in a gap, or get some boards, right? It's like, I think the little kid's gonna get a board or two, but she's gonna be aggressive. She goes in there, she hits and holds. And so I think she really accepted that challenge, and I'm really proud of her because it's been a work. She got in the weight room, she's bigger, she weighs a little bit more and stronger, and I think the world of her, and I think that's been a really fun difference.
This was kind of a weird game in the fact that you guys jumped out to the early lead and then never really feel like Kansas was fully in the game. It never felt like you guys pulled away.
I know.
I guess kind of a two-part question. What do you feel like you guys need to do better to pull away? But then what did you do well enough to make sure that Kansas never came back?
I feel like we got a little tired. I think they did too, and I think we were not as tired as they were. Maybe it was the lead, but I felt like even though we looked a little tired, we were still a little faster getting down both sides into the ball transition. But I'm telling you, I'm glad we won this game. But that was an emotional turnaround game on Sunday. This is a pretty intense 2-week stretch for us. So we went to Drake and you got that win, and it was great. But we had practice. We had morning practice times. So we come back from Drake, and it wasn't that late, but we were right on it because I had to make use of Monday. It wasn't a cush practice. You turn the page. So we go 2.5 hours, maybe not running up and down. They got their studies, got all the thing. We go again 8:30 on Tuesday morning. So I was really fearful of emotional and physical. You're flying in here, and then you have this type of a kind of a tournament feel. So I don't know if it was just a little fatigue or we were a little sluggish. But I was happy to see that, they had the same thing because they played the same night we did. So I was happy we both had that. But I don't know. I told our staff in one of those early timeouts, and I said, man, we look a little sluggish. But I'm going to credit Kansas on that more than maybe just being tired. But I talked to him after the Drake game. Especially the young kids, I said, look, this is college basketball. You turn the page really fast. And that was fun, and now we got a Big 12 opponent coming. And we got 48 hours. And they're kind of looking, like the Tuesday, Friday, and you're going to have, usually in high school basketball, you have 3 games that you're going to win by 40, right? Mm-hmm. That is not this level. So I feel like they responded, but I just think Kansas put some pressure on us defensively, and we're just not quite as fluid on offense yet.
Do you want to, Jeff? Okay, I want to ask about Ava Hyden because you implemented her early in this game. Was that intentional? And I guess what did you see out of her today, and what do you need from her?
Yeah, well, I think Ava's really raw, and she was really great talent. She played a little bit inside in high school. She played facing a little bit inside, outside in the AAU system, and she didn't get any minutes in the Drake game because there's a lot thinking in a game like Drake, where there's a lot of screening action. You got to make the reads. You got to help sometimes. In this particular game, their centers were used a lot like our centers, right? A typical center. So I thought this was a good big environment game to get her in there early to get some confidence. And I thought, she did some really nice things, and we did, some freshman things. We took some shots that we don't practice, right? But that's, Taylor Schramm's going to do that a little bit, and Tegan's going to do that a little bit. So it's not atypical, but I felt we could weather it in this environment, and we need her to get more and more confident because I'd like to, utilize her as that backup, and they're both pretty big. And Ava gives us so much speed and athleticism, the counter. Addie's big and strong, who can also run it. But then we don't always have to put Hannah at double-digit minutes or double position minutes. So I thought Ava did a lot of nice things tonight. I just, in my mind, I think those 2 quick early shots were the only thing that we'll probably have to, just chat about in the film.
All right, thanks, Jen.
Thank you.